In this video, we're going to take a look at the essentials of text mining in Python, and I'm going to show a few simple examples. So first of all, what's the idea with text mining? We're starting with some stream of text, which could be a social media stream or series of emails or something else where we have a whole lot of words, which is part of the challenge. So we're going to take this text and run it through a series of processes. Tokenizing is going to take each word and effectively make it its own term, which could be a feature if you're thinking about supervised learning. Then we'll lemmatize, which is where we take words with a common root and we reduce them to their root. And we also look for synonyms and we combine those synonyms together. Then we can do a count vectorizer where we take a look at the number of words in a certain document, where a document would be a tweet, or a Yelp review, or an email, or something like that. We're going to consider a document a collection of words that we want to analyze. And then if we want, we can do TF-IDF on it, where we're taking a look at the frequency of words in a document and the frequency of words across all documents. So effectively, once we've done this, we've taken this text and we've converted it to numbers. And when we've converted it to numbers, we can do some type of learning on it, either supervised learning like regression to predict, is this a positive comment, a negative comment, or to predict based on the words and this job description, what do we think the salary will be, or who do we think the best qualified candidates will be. Or we can do some unsupervised learning, and we can say, okay, here are all the jobs, let's throw them out on a cluster map, and then let's take resumes and throw them on a cluster map as well, and let's see where we might have a good fit. So one thing we need to decide is, what are we trying to do? Are we trying to extract meaning from a document? So are we trying to do something like a chat bot where a customer comes in and we say, hi, I'm from the contact center, and we're trying to figure out what the customer is actually saying in a chat and then respond without human intervention? Well, that requires knowing meaning, which requires knowing a lot about grammar and the meaning of words, and also the order of words and how that can change a sentence. So the Reds beat the Cubs versus the Cubs beat the Reds. The same words are in those same two sentences, but they have two completely different meanings. And that requires natural language processing, which is a bit beyond the scope of what we're doing here. Now, most of the examples that I'm dealing with or that I've discussed already is really looking at doing some supervised or unsupervised learning with a document, and that has some very good use cases as well. So say that we've received an email or an instant message or a chat or even a phone call, and we say, okay, what is it that you're contacting us about? Well, we can do some real-time processing to say, if it's password reset, okay, we're going to funnel you down to the password reset help desk, which maybe is medium priority. If you're on hold for a couple minutes, not going to make a big difference. On the other hand, if we can pick up that your account was compromised, or there was some identity theft, or you need to stop your credit card from being used, or stop your checkbook, okay, we might see that as something that requires immediate urgency because there's an immediate problem, and then we can categorize that over to a second help desk that has quicker response time. So those are the kind of things where we could actively use this. Many other cases as well. I've brought up a case earlier about demand forecasting to say we have something that's going to be launched or released in a couple months. We want to take a look at how it's trending on social media to see, do we have enough, too few, or too many? And if it's too few, do we have enough time to respond in our supply chain and get some more in the pipeline? So when we're thinking about learning with text, we can kind of put this in the terms of supervised learning that we've seen before. So text is the feature. Now, of course, this is a little bit challenging because we know for doing some supervised learning, the more features we have, the more data we need to have. And the more features we have, it can take longer to process the model. So we have to think about ways to reduce the data to make it a bit more manageable. So how can we text mine? Well, cluster documents. That's the case I just mentioned about you receiving an inquiry to the call center and you want to get the call to the right place in the right time. The trick is that we need a good set of data to learn from. And this is where things can get a little labor intensive up front. Because what you'd effectively need to do is say, okay, let's go back on our last 3 to 6 months of inquiries and take the raw text from it, whether it was an email, instant message, text, or even text to speech on a phone call. Let's take a look at these, maybe 3 months worth of inquiries or maybe a few thousand inquiries, and let's categorize them. So let's put some number to them, and then that number that we're putting to them is what we're trying to predict. Either through grouping or through some kind of supervised learning. But that does require a bit of manual processing first, which makes examples for this a little bit tricky. Find the meaning of the document we just talked about a moment ago. And why mine data? Talked about that. Either look for demand in advance or look for negative reviews so we can respond to them, or even search through documents with some kind of artificial intelligence. So tokenization is where we're taking a sentence or what we'll call a document. Document could be an email, a tweet, an instant message, or any of those things I've discussed already. And we're separating all of the words into tokens. We can typically use spaces as a boundary, so a space will separate one word from another. Not too worried about ordering, we're just looking at a count. And that will give us a matrix, kind of like a data frame, where we can say, okay, here are our 3 documents. I like Fuji apples. Do you like red delicious apples? And I enjoy Honeycrisp apples. And we can look at the word frequency across these items. So we can take a look at this sample notebook that I have. I've already done some imports. And now you see I have effectively 3 different phrases here. I like Fuji apples. Do you like red delicious apples? And I enjoy Honeycrisp apples. Now we're going to use a count vectorizer, which will take this and put it into a grid as we see here. Now take a look at this. You see that apples is present in every single document. And this is where we could use a couple things. If it's a word that's always present that doesn't have meaning, then we could take it out with stop words. But on the other hand, if it is a word that does have meaning, then we can apply some of that TF-IDF, which we'll look at later, which looks at the frequency of words across documents and also the frequency of words inside documents. And with TF-IDF, we can say, well, every document has the word apple. So we're not going to assign a really heavy weight to that word, but maybe not every word has Fuji in it. Nonetheless, you see we have a count here of 1 for apples, and then delicious we only have on our second document because it's red delicious apples. Also notice it's already lowercased everything for us. Now, what if we have a duplicate word? What if I say apples? I like Fuji apples. So notice it's there twice, but with different capitalization and different punctuation. And that is in our first document, which here we have is S1. Notice when I add the word apples, that count for S1 goes from 1 to 2. Now we actually can configure this as we want. We can look at presence, absence, or frequency. So with presence, absence, we're just saying, is the word present? Okay, well then we need a Boolean matrix of zeros and ones. On the other hand, for frequency, we're saying how frequently do we see this item? And for that, we'll actually have a counter as we just saw. The default behavior is frequency. And it's easy to change this behavior from the default and count vectorizer. If I simply pass an argument binary equals true, watch what happens. I still have the word apples twice in this first document. But watch what happens when I say binary equals true. Now that apples count goes to 1. So the only values we can have are 0 or 1. I could say, do you like red delicious apples? They are delicious. And once again, no surprise here with binary equals true. Delicious appears as a true in that column, but if I take it away, we'll see delicious comes as a count instead. Now we know if we're looking at words as features, we're going to end up with a lot of features. And so we want to consider how we can reduce those features. One is by using a stop words list where we say, okay, exclude these words from our analysis. Maybe they're words that we've determined just aren't significant, or they're words that are very common. So we can add stop words to our count vectorizer and say, okay, these are ones we don't want to consider. A few other techniques that are common in text mining. One is stemming, which is where we use the common core of words with multiple endings. So look, looking, looks, looked. We would consolidate all that to the word look. Frequency filters is it a word that is in every single document or in very few documents. We can filter out based on that if it's one we don't want to consider. We can also use TF-IDF to use the frequency of words as a factor that we want to consider when we're grouping our documents. Consolidate synonyms. So I went, I go. We could consolidate those and say, okay, that's effectively one word. And then normalization. This is where we take something we'd find in every document and replace it with a category. So if we're searching emails for discovery, it might be that every email has the same footer or the same confidentiality notice. We can go through the emails in advance and replace all that boilerplate with just one word. And then we could possibly exclude that word. If it's in every single email, it's not going to be a good predictor. Let's look at another demo here, very similar to our previous demo. But here I've added some more punctuation. I've added exclamation, and I've also added a smiley. Now take a look down in our count vectorizer constructor. I'm saying go ahead and include our normal alphanumeric characters. But here I'm also saying include exclamation and colon, where by default the count vectorizer doesn't include punctuation. Now I've also given it a stop words list of words not to include, and here I'm saying like and you. If we look at our previous example, we can see that like had a couple of hits and you had a couple of hits, and both were included in our analysis. Now I'm saying don't include like and you, but I do want to include the exclamation and colon punctuations. So go ahead and run this and we see something interesting. First of all, it picks up the colon from the smiley here and assigns that to our second document, which is correct. Not the whole smiley, because we told it we just want to look for colons. Okay. Next thing that we see is that it has differentiated between apples with no punctuation and apples with exclamations. Now, once again, you might say, wait a minute, apples with no punctuation, well, I see a question mark there. Well, we've only told it to look for exclamations and colons. So it effectively removes that question mark and removes the period here. However, because we did tell it to pay attention to exclamations, it considers this to be a different token. So we see those are shown here. Like and you, we know they were up above, like and you. We look down here and we see that like and you are not included. So there are some ways that we can customize that count vectorizer to say, I do want to include these things because they're important. I don't want to include these things because they're not. Typically, a little bit of human intervention will play off there as we're categorizing our previous documents, the documents we're using for training. We can say, oh, okay, well, smiley emoji and frowny emoji are two different emotions. Or maybe we say this emoji appears in almost all of our comments. We want to go ahead and rule it out. Several different ways that we can use both stop words and the token pattern to look for specific things we want to consider in our model. Finally, we consider the example of lemmatization, which is where we are stemming our words, in other words, taking off any kind of ending like ing or s or ed or anything like that, taking them to the root, and then also consolidating synonyms or words with similar meanings. It's helpful also if we can identify parts of speech when we lemmatize. So I don't have an example of that in my current workbook, but I do have a couple other examples where we will walk through that. So that's an overview of text mining. As always, I hope you found this video helpful, and I look forward to reading your comments. Thank you.